What up, y'all? I'm back. Dean Thomas in effect. I apologize. I've been gone a little bit. Listen, I still been riding high off Tyron Woodley's win against Darren Till a couple weeks ago. So I've been riding high. But listen, I'm back. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you guys about today, because I've been doing a lot of interviews recently. Everybody's been asking me about, giving Tyron the black belt in the cage after his win against Darren Till. And I wanted to discuss that with you guys today too, because I know some of you guys might practice jiu-jitsu and have your own opinions on this. So I wanted to discuss that and also maybe give you some insight for you on how you could be, how you're judged on getting your belt. So first and foremost, I do want to say that Tyron didn't get his belt because he submitted Darren Till. I know that was how it looked, and some people I've read on some message boards, some people said, oh, he got his belt because he submitted, they called Darren Till a white belt. Who knows what belt Darren Till is, but that's not why he got his belt. He got his belt because he earned his belt. He was supposed to get his belt 2 years ago. It never happened, and he was kind of in limbo on getting his black belt. It just happened to be the opportune time to give it to him. So I snuck up on him and surprised him with the belt. But Tyron Woodley has earned his black belt. So, for those who may have criticized it and said, oh, he got his belt because he submitted Darren Till in a fight, hey, listen, he earned his belt. Tyron Woodley's been doing jiu-jitsu since 2006. That's 12 years ago, probably even longer than that, but he's been doing jiu-jitsu for a long time. He does train in a gi. He does run a gi program out of his academy, and even if he didn't, he still trains jiu-jitsu. So, and that's kind of what I want to talk to you guys about today is jiu-jitsu getting belted and the direction that I think jiu-jitsu has gone, and why you shouldn't knock other people for getting belts. And if you're wondering how you're going to get your belt, maybe this should give you some insight. So when jiu-jitsu first started, it was a self-defense art, based on defending yourself in the street, and the Gracies used it for, their own little tournaments in combat and beat people up. So it was originally, used for the street. That's what it was. It was used for the street, hand to hand, man to man combat. That's what it was. Because of tournaments, jiu-jitsu has changed drastically. I mean, sometimes I watch it because I don't follow it tournament style as much as I used to a few years ago, but because the explosion of how jiu-jitsu sort of just kind of reinvented itself in tournaments, it's a totally different game. And sometimes people think that that's really what jiu-jitsu is. Like a lot of people, if you compete in it, you think that's what jiu-jitsu is. And yes, it is that, but it's also still what it was originally intended for. That's defending yourself in the street and also using it in a real fight. So, in my opinion, you have essentially three different styles of jiu-jitsu. You have self-defense, which is what the original Gracies did. Royce Gracie style of jiu-jitsu, like self-defense. I mean, that's the way they teach it in their academy. And then you have jiu-jitsu for MMA, which is what I like to call myself an expert and being very proficient at. And then you have tournament style jiu-jitsu, and which is what I used to do a while ago, long time ago. But nowadays, no, I don't follow it, so I don't know much about it. And this is guys like Keenan Cornelius and Gordon Ryan. These guys are really good at that style of jiu-jitsu, and it's not what I do, but I totally respect it, and I'm amazed by some of the things that they do. I mean, the way they move is beautiful. However, you cannot judge one individual based on another style. I promise you this, because there are some guys who compete in tournaments, like your traditional guard pullers, and some really good competitors that compete in tournaments that I would never take in a street fight with me. And none of that, and some of this, and probably 90% of the stuff that they do in tournaments, that work in tournaments, would never work in an MMA fight. So you can't judge a person based on the same criteria. So you got these guys, and then the guys who can defend themselves in the street using their jiu-jitsu, probably won't last long in a tournament. Guys who do MMA and are really good at jiu-jitsu for MMA probably won't last long in a jiu-jitsu tournament. So you can't really judge them based on the same criteria. You can only be judged based on the criteria in which you are manifesting your jiu-jitsu. And when I had my own school, I've had my own academy for 12 years. Multiple wins in the span of 12 years. That was how I based on how I judged my jiu-jitsu ranking system. Is I was pretty proficient in all 3 areas of jiu-jitsu at that time. I focused on self-defense. I focused on MMA jiu-jitsu because I was still competing, and I was also competing in some jiu-jitsu tournaments. So I was very adept with the jiu-jitsu style, tournament style of jiu-jitsu. So when I had somebody who was a competitor, I belted them based on how they stacked up against other competitors. When you have somebody who just focuses jiu-jitsu for MMA, you belt them based on that, on how well they can, utilize and employ their jiu-jitsu for MMA. When you have somebody who's, doing it for self-defense, and more often than not, this is like an older gentleman's style of jiu-jitsu, you belt them based on that. Like I never really belted anybody based on that, because I always taught, I never really focused on that style. But I respect it. It's kind of what the Gracies do. Pedro Valente down in Miami, he does his and belts his like that. I know Wald Blois and another gentleman in Florida belts his people based on that. So I respect all of that, and we cannot put jiu-jitsu in this general box and go, oh well, he doesn't train in tournaments or he doesn't wear the gi, because jiu-jitsu is a broad spectrum of different ways to use it. So if you're looking to get belted, and you haven't gotten belted in a while, maybe you should talk to your instructor and figure out what it is that you need to do specifically, because there's a lot, in my opinion, there's so many different ways in order to utilize your jiu-jitsu and show how versed you are in it, and it shouldn't just be one way. So talk to your instructor and see what it is that you need to do. I guess that's it for me today. So I'm gonna catch up with y'all. First, I want to thank 8 Man Strong for hooking me up with this shirt. You can check them out on 8manstrong.com. Elite Ops Energy for always providing the fuel that I need in order to get that energy to get my day going, keep me up and running. Anyway, I'm gonna catch y'all next time. I'm out. Dean Thomas. Peace out.